It's 1961. A young man, heir to one of the wealthiest families in America, disappears without a trace off the coast of New Guinea. The official story says he drowned, but rumors tell of something darker, that he was captured, unalived, and eaten by a tribe of headhunters. This is the story of Michael Rockefeller, and the mystery that still haunts history. Michael Clark Rockefeller was born on May 18, 1938, into the Rockefeller dynasty, a family synonymous with power, wealth, and influence in America. His father, Nelson Rockefeller, was not only a businessman and philanthropist, but also the governor of New York, and later, Vice President of the United States. Growing up, Michael lived a life of privilege most could only imagine. But unlike many heirs of fortune, Michael was restless. He wasn't drawn to politics, finance, or industry. What captured his imagination was art, especially tribal and primitive art, which he believed revealed raw human truth that modern society had forgotten. After graduating from Harvard in 1960, Michael sought adventure and meaning. While most of his peers stepped into safe careers, Michael joined an anthropological expedition to one of the most remote places on Earth, Dutch New Guinea. This land was home to the Asmat, a people with no written language, no metal tools, and a history steeped in ritual headhunting and cannibalism. For centuries, they believed unaliving enemies and consuming their bodies allowed them to absorb their spirit. To outsiders, they were terrifying. To Michael, they were fascinating, but there was tension. Just 4 years before Michael's arrival, Dutch soldiers had attacked an Asmat village after a violent clash, wiping out several of their men. The wounds of colonial violence still burned deep, and into this world walked Michael Rockefeller, a young foreigner carrying the name of one of the richest families in the world. In October 1961, Michael returned to New Guinea for a second expedition, this time on his own. He traveled along the wild rivers, collecting Asmat carvings and artifacts for New York's Museum of Primitive Art, a museum founded by his father. On November 17, 1961, Michael set out with Dutch anthropologist René Wassing in a 40-foot canoe, traveling along the coast. Suddenly, rough seas overturned the boat. The two men clung to the wreck for hours under the blazing sun. They were miles from shore, with no rescue in sight. As exhaustion set in, Michael made a fateful choice. "I think I can make it," he told Wassing. He strapped 2 empty gasoline cans to his body for flotation and began to swim toward the distant shore. It was the last time he was ever seen alive. The official report claimed Michael drowned. It was the simplest explanation, and one his powerful family seemed willing to accept. But doubts grew. Michael was young, athletic, and trained in swimming at Harvard. Could he really have drowned so quickly? Some say he may have reached the shore, and that's where the story turns dark. The Asmat tribes were known to exact revenge for past unalivings, and Dutch colonial soldiers had unalived several of their men just years before. To them, a white outsider arriving alone and defenseless was not a guest, but an offering. In later years, chilling testimonies surfaced. Journalists uncovered accounts from villagers who claimed a white man had indeed reached the shore that night. According to their stories, he was captured, speared, and butchered as part of a ritual murder. His body was divided, cooked, and eaten. One villager even described his father's involvement, recalling how the man's head was severed and kept as a trophy. The details were disturbingly specific, and yet, the Dutch authorities buried these testimonies, afraid of scandal and political fallout. The Rockefeller family then launched one of the largest search operations New Guinea had ever seen. Helicopters, planes, and ships scoured the coast. Nelson Rockefeller, already a rising political star, faced mounting pressure. But after weeks of searching, nothing was found. No body, no clothing, no trace. Behind the scenes, Dutch officials quietly admitted to the possibility that Michael had been unalived by the hazmat. But publicly, the story never changed. He drowned. Michael Rockefeller's disappearance became one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. To this day, no body has ever been found. For the Rockefeller family, it was a devastating blow. For historians, it remains a case tangled in colonial politics, cultural clash, and unspeakable violence. But beyond the theories, what makes Michael's story so haunting is the brutal irony. A man born into unimaginable privilege, carrying one of the most powerful names in America, vanished into the jungles of New Guinea, stripped of all wealth and protection. His fate, whether by drowning or ritual sacrifice, proved that money and power mean nothing against nature, culture, and vengeance. Michael Rockefeller's story is more than a disappearance. It's a reminder of the fragile line between privilege and vulnerability, between fascination and danger, between curiosity and death. And while the world may never know what truly happened on that November night, one thing is certain. His name will forever echo as one of history's darkest mysteries.